All right, Shaggy. Are you like me? Like when time passes and the Avs and Wild don't play, it's not that I forget the disdain that I have for the Wild, but it takes the Avalanche playing them for those feelings and emotions to bubble back up again. And now, like my dislike of the Wild is right back up at the top when maybe it was like waning a little bit. Are you
It's
similar in that fashion?
I forget all about it, and then puck drop. You see that logo match up with ours. It's back on.
Hate them. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan in the house, and we are going to be discussing this Avalanche shootout victory, 4-3 over the Minnesota Wild, the rival Minnesota Wild. And if you didn't catch the beginning of the YouTube stream, I kind of stated in that, like, I kind of forget my hatred for them until we play them again. And now now that we play them and in that fashion. So we'll talk about it all. We'll break it all down. But the Avs do get the win. But first things first, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerned opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow the show on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe and get notified when any new episode goes live. So, like we said, Avalanche win it 4-3. Another shootout victory. So the Avs, and Nathan McKinnon said it after the game, said, we've been blowing teams away, and now we're kind of in these tight games, and they're winning those ones as well. Honestly, I know maybe from a fan perspective, your anxiety gets like pinned, but that is what the playoffs are. You're not going to get a lot of blowouts in the playoffs. So you want to have some of these games, and against teams like Minnesota. I get it when they have games like that against Seattle, when they have games like that against Arizona, you can be rolling your eyes and saying, like, why are we playing down to their level? But Minnesota is going to play you tough. And when you can battle, and when you take them to overtime, yes, I know overtime is different in the playoffs, but you get the extra point. You can always look back on that and say, like, we've been in these games and we've come out on top.
It was the Arizona series. I think they played Toronto right before they played us, and they beat Toronto. And everybody was talking about, wow, what's Arizona doing? And then we played 2 and won 2. The Avalanche are in a spot right now where it doesn't matter who, even if we're playing down, we're getting those gritty wins. And you saw that against Minnesota. It's a top caliber team. They're never out of it. And that's a really good feeling to have. And this is our 14th straight home win. And like the Avalanche are putting things together. We talked about in the last episode, they have a top 10 power play. The Avalanche are putting things together, and they're sitting at the top of the division for a reason. I know it's frustrating as a fan to watch them come from behind and go to shootouts and overtime, but at the end of the day, they're winning. And that's all that matters when it comes to the NHL.
Yeah, you got to remember the other team is trying too. It's not just a one-way road where the Avs are just going to, roll over these teams. These other teams are playing for something. These other players are playing for something. And if it's not a playoff spot like Arizona, they're still playing for contracts. They're still playing for bonuses. They're still, they're playing for themselves. So, and there's something to be said about that. So, and when you're playing, the best of the best, you want to stack up against that. And when you're the Arizona Coyotes, you had 2 opportunities to do that, and you failed. Okay, but they are taking something out of that game different than what Minnesota is taking out of this game, out of a loss. And this was a kind of like a disjointed start to the game. There was not a lot of like cohesion to it. You started seeing the Avalanche coming out of it in the second 10 minutes of the first period. Things started to look a little bit better for them. And they were even put up on Twitter, like they were knocking on the door. They were so close. And then finally they did break through. Right? Was it the Mikko Rantanen goal?
Yes.
Was the first one? Yeah. His 20th of the season. We are, rightly so, lauding and loving Mikko Nazem Kadri. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Mikko Rantanen is having himself a season, and my wild prediction in the preseason was he was going to win the Hart.
Yeah.
I don't think he's there. He's clearly not there, but he is getting buried underneath Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, and Nazem Kadri.
Mm-hmm.
And from Avalanche fans, we know what we have in him. And we talked about a month ago about, do we not appreciate Mikko Rantanen? We do as Avs fans. I don't think the rest of the league appreciates Mikko Rantanen. He's having a phenomenal year, and we're not paying enough attention to it.
Yeah, and it's one of those instances like tonight. He's the leading goal scorer on the team with 20 goals. That's Cale Makar, and I believe it's Nas in third. But like you hear about the trendy names, you don't hear about Mikko. We always talk about how underrated he is, but he's having an incredible year. And this game was bookended from Mikko. He started the game with a score, ended the game with a score. Like Mikko gets in there and does what he has to do. And the Avalanche are winning these games that we usually lose. Like in 2019, it was the Kings and the Ducks that would just come out of nowhere and beat us. And they would go up 1 or 2-0. And then we're like, what is going on? And we feel like that through the whole game. Now with contributions from Mikko, you get it from Newhook. Like you're getting contributions from everywhere. It doesn't matter how far we're down. You're just like, okay, what do the Avs have to do to get back in this? You never feel out of it until the end of the game.
Yeah. No, he's playing fantastic. And, overall, the game, physical game.
Mm-hmm.
You knew you were going to get that from Minnesota. I just don't like their style of play. And not that I'm saying it's like a dirty type of play, although we will talk about the hit on Darcy Kuemper, obviously. But it's just, there's no I don't grace to it. I want to say, there's no cohesion. It's just sandpaper all over the ice. It's just grit. I mean, it's a gritty style of play. I just don't know if that can hold up over the course of the season. When you watch it, it's a rough style of play.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's just something about it that I'm not a fan of. Like I guess maybe finesse is the word. There's no finesse in their game. It's just full bore all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of an old school type hockey that you thought was kind of working its way out of the game.
Over, right.
Yeah, and like St. Louis kind of plays that way to a fault. Like that's what got Nas in trouble, was falling into that trap. But Minnesota, just every line, everyone is playing with that grit, and it's going to be a grinder game. Like you get in there and you have to survive. And it works for Minnesota. A lot of teams can't put up with that. The Avalanche are talented enough, all four lines and the D-core, they can handle that. And for Nas not to fall into that trap, McDermott, this is what he's meant for. Games against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota is where he shines. And with that young talent that Minnesota's got, how long can they play physical? Because you could do so great and get yourself to second and third in the division, and then it's going to catch up with you and it's going to wear on your body, especially 82 games.
Yeah, I feel like it can get you through a season. I mean, I don't know if you'd be crawling to the finish line or not, but I mean, it just seems like they're just so bruised and battered like throughout the course of a season. When you get to the playoffs and you're still taking those hits, is that going to get you that far? I don't know. Maybe it's because they were playing the Avalanche. I watched some Wild games, but it seems like the ones that I do watch, they play like this. So I'm just thinking like this is their style of play. I don't think that can win you long term. I just how I feel. It's fun to watch because it's entertaining. It's grit. It's punishing. But from a team perspective, I don't know how they last. I don't know.
Especially when you get to the playoffs and you're playing the same team every other night, you can start to figure out, okay, I remember you running me late in the third the other night. We're not going to play that way. You shift the line, you change it up, and you can win a series against them 4-1 or sweep them. Because that, when you show your hand night in, night out against the same team, that's where you get exposed.
Right. All right, so let's hear from BetOnline, and then some interesting stuff in the game. Some penalties, fighting, an odd penalty where guy on the Minnesota was just playing dead for a while.
Yeah.
that's when you're laying on the puck, that's a penalty. And then a crazy goal for the Avs right towards the end of the game that they needed. So we'll talk about all of that. But first, Bet Online would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our NFL postseason. Games going on right now as we're recording this. I think who the Cardinals and the Rams are playing as we're recording this. A Monday nighter. That's new, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had Super Wild Card Saturday and a Monday night playoff game.
It's like Cyber Monday for football.
Yeah.
BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. It's a new year and new updated desktop and mobile websites. And when you sign up today, you'll receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to get started and get your bonus from football, basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline remains the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. It's where the game starts. That is betonline, .ag. Okay. Let's talk about the Greenway hit on Darcy Kuemper. So it's one of those things where it's like divisive. And I went purposely, I don't do this. I hate doing this, but I did it just because I wanted to see. And usually it's along party lines. And I went into enemy territory. I didn't comment. I'm not going to do that. I just went into enemy territory and to see what Wild fans were talking about when it came to the hit. Of course, they think it was soft. Avalanche fans think Jordan Greenway should be suspended for life. I'm in the middle there. Was it a nasty hit? Yeah, I'm gonna go with it was. Should he be suspended? I think there's a fine coming. Would it surprise me if he got suspended for a game? No, because it's on a goalie. When you touch a goalie in that fashion and he didn't return to the game. Oddly enough, he did play. I'm talking about Kuemper did not return to the game. He continued play until the next puck stoppage, and then must have been the spotter in the arena said, "Get him out. We gotta put him through the protocol." And he didn't return the rest of the game. So the fact that happened, that should, you never know, with Department of Player Safety, get taken into account. And I think because it is a goalie who is the most defenseless player on the ice, you might be sure. I can see a 1-game suspension coming and at least a fine.
Yeah. We know Greenway. He gets chippy. I mean, we had the preseason run-in not too long ago. It seems like every game we play, Greenway is the McDermott for the Minnesota Wild. So it didn't surprise me that Greenway pulled a stunt like this. You can clearly see it surprised Kuemper and took him out of it. His head hit the post. Did
it really? I didn't see the post hit.
Yeah, when he was like flying backwards.
Okay.
Like he took it and he was flying backwards, and like that was that initial. That's what really shook him up.
Okay, I gotta look at that again because all I'm looking at was how Greenway hit him, and there's a view from the top. That's really the only view. All the other ones, you can see he makes contact, but the view from overhead is the one that I think is the most damning for him.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like he's not trying to get out of the way. I'm wondering if he turned his attention and just thought it was an Av player and he was going to check him. And then because it happened so quick, he's like, oh crap, that was the goalie. Probably should have done that.
What it really, like, I watched it back, and when you see how Darcy reacts, it surprised him, it scared him, and I think he kind of overreacted, almost like his exaggerated like surprise, and him taking back and hitting off the post. Like when you see it at first, you're like, oh, that's kind of like Darcy acting a little bit, and then you watch it all the way through and watch him coming down, and like the back of his head hits that post, and you're like,
I gotta watch that.
Oh, that's what's going on. And then that explains him not coming back. So when Minnesota's barking like it's not that serious of a hit, watch it all the way through, and then we'll talk about it. Like I think the reaction was more extreme than the actual hit.
I got to say, I was not watching that. I was not if his head, because like I said, I'm just watching the contact between Greenway and him. So, all right, I'll have to go back and watch that. But I don't understand how there is no penalty on this for the Avalanche.
Yeah.
Simply because Curtis McDermott defended his goalie, and now you're going to put all of those penalty minutes on McDermott that match what you gave Greenway minus. Well, actually, McDermott got more because he got a 10-minute misconduct. So there's no power play on that. You let him knock out our player, and I say knock out, I mean removed him from the game. He didn't knock him out; he was out cold. Our player got essentially removed from the game. You hit him. You called a penalty on it. You called goaltender interference, and simply because our player defended our goalie, there's nothing. So there's essentially no penalty for that hit. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and you don't really see it called that way. And I don't know if there were words said or what was going on in that scrum to escalate it to matching, but to negate a power play for a hit like that was astounding. But then once we'll get to it, the review, once you saw how they handled that, you're like, okay, these guys really are having a hard time calling this game.
It was horrible. I mean, well, because Greenway got the 2 for the goaltender interference, and then 5 for fighting for McDermott, and 2 for instigating. So no,
he didn't instigate. He was retaliating.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. They got off scot-free. They got nothing for that hit on a defenseless goalie. It's an absolute joke.
Yeah.
An absolute joke. But well, go ahead if you want to finish a thought on that.
No, it's that same mind-numbing level of officiating that the Avalanche have been fighting all year, and it's useless to this point to try and get it rectified because the NHL will not do a thing about it. You just got to accept it.
That happened. All right, it happened. Bad all around. And then, but they did, a couple of things did go the Avalanche way. I say, one of them definitely did. The other was, I just thought hysterical. Hartman was just, he knew the puck was, his reaction, if the puck wasn't under him, why are you laying on the ice like that? Mm-hmm. Like a stiff. Why are you laying like that if you didn't know that you knew the puck was under you and you didn't move? That is a penalty. And I loved Minnesota's reaction, whining and complaining about it. And it's like, that is the definition of what that penalty is for.
It's one of the things they tell you in like peewee hockey. If your leg isn't broken, you stand right back up. You don't lay on the ice. You don't see that happen. No. He knew what was going on, and like his little horizontal, like complete body hop just to kind of like move it over
away from him. Yeah,
I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you didn't know it was under you, what are you doing laying on the ice like that for 10 seconds? Get out of here with that nonsense. The other one was a big moment right towards it was in the third, late kind of late in the third, right? This was the
about
the last
3 minutes.
Yeah, like 3.5 minutes to go. And a shot from in close, and you couldn't see the puck go in from any of the camera angles that we saw. It seemed like it got jammed right between the goalie pad and his skate. That little area that can pretty much just fit a puck went there, and then that entire leg goes into the goal. Mm-hmm. And at first they called it no goal, right? They called it no goal, but they were going to review it. And when you keep seeing it, it's like there's nowhere else for the puck to go.
Yeah.
The puck, and I think Moser said it, the puck doesn't have a mind of its own. It's not going to just, go to his other leg that's out of the goal line. His entire leg, where the puck entered his skate, and even though you couldn't see it, that entire leg was inside the goal. That is a goal. And we were just railing on the refs for all the craziness, but they actually got that one right.
Yeah, for them to overturn it, which, I mean, if you're going letter of the law, like you really had no visual evidence to overturn a no goal. Like,
right.
You didn't see the puck, really. You had to, it was one of those, you saw the entire leg and the entire pad cross the line.
Yeah.
And you have to tell yourself, okay, the puck's not anywhere over here or anywhere over here. It must be right here. So you have to kind of use like your better judgment on that, and they did get that one right.
And your teammates are coming over to help you out of the goal, And then when you lift up the leg, there's the
There's
puck.
a puck.
Like, you are not David Copperfield or David Blaine or whatever you want to say, man. Like, that was a goal, and common sense won out. Thankfully. I'm sure I really, if this was on the shoe was on the other foot, I would be sitting here saying, like, I get it. And it would be annoying because you can't really see the puck, but common sense has to play a role in some of these calls, and it had to there, and it did.
Yeah, we talked about sequels yesterday, and we almost saw another sequel to Now You See Me because they were trying to pull off an elaborate hoax, but we did not fall for it.
No. All right, so yeah, and then finally we go into OT, a good overtime session. They always are, and then once again in overtime or in the shootout, Pavel Francouz is the greatest goalie in the history of the NHL when it comes to shootout saves because he's never let one in.
It's
a thing of beauty, and it's not like you get the best of the best in shootouts. You know what I mean? It's not like you're getting fourth liners. And the one he had on Kaprizov was a solid glove move he had. That was awesome.
And that's a really good skill to hold on to. Like even the greats, like you get your Marc-Andre Fleury's and your Vasilevskis that talk about all the time how they do not like the shootout because it takes away a lot of what you do. And for Pavel Francouz to be so calm, so cool, so collected, and in the element in that moment, I mean, it's something really good to have. It's not like we can like put him in every shootout situation, but yeah, no. Pavel's looking good.
Can you switch goalies to start the if say Kuemper was in for the whole game and then the shootout comes around, can you put Francouz in?
That'd be a cold Francouz though.
I mean, it would be. It'd be a very cold. I get that. I'm not saying I would do this. I'm just curious on if, and not for an injury. Is there any difference between pulling a goalie just because he's given up 5 goals on 6 shots?
I don't know.
And just pulling him after overtime?
Oh my gosh, we're about to go into like baseball territory. We're gonna have right-handed gloves and left-handed gloves.
I mean, I know he'd be ice cold, and I mean, if you were Kuemper, would you take offense to that? I mean, it would depend. If it was like a shutout, you're not going to do that.
Then we're going to start. We'll have win-loss saves for goalies, just like in baseball.
A hold. He gets a hold. For the, yeah. I don't know. Just I was thinking about that. My guess is you could do it. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do it. But
yeah, I'll have to look that up. Hey, if anybody knows that's ever happened, let us know.
Yeah, not for an injury, just because he's good at saving shootouts. You bring him in. I don't know. Let me know. But yeah, you said it. It was another. Only one went in, and it was Mikko Rantanen's, right? And then you had Kaprizov, who had to score, and I thought the Zuccarello. I'm telling you, I've been watching Matt Zuccarello for a long time, and he does that move every time. Single time. I'm telling you, why? I mean, and it works. He brings it from the right to the left, and it's a solid move. And I was watching for it, and he did it again.
Yeah.
And the reason I know is I watched him live one time. He was playing in the AHL, and he was sent down. This was very early in his career, and he was sent down from the Rangers, and he was playing on the AHL team. I can't remember who the heck it was. I think I don't remember. I'm not even trying to guess, but he was like a man amongst boys playing there. And the game went to overtime, and then they went to a shootout, and he was the first one to go shoot, and it was like candy from a baby. It was easy, and that was the move he made. And ever since then, I'm like, wow, that was a solid move. Every single time that is the Matt Zuccarello shootout goal. Just watch it for future reference.
Hey, ironically enough, it's the exact same move I use every day on NHL 22. So
oh yeah,
it works,
and it works exactly. It works. So, but that was a solid save. That was a very nice pad save, but it's a big win. It's a division game. You extend. You wanted to get the 2 in regulation, so you can extend your standings 2 points on them. But that's all right. You send Minnesota to another loss, and they're, I don't want to say maybe reeling a little bit. But I think, overall, this was a hard fought game. I thought this was one of the better defensive games the Avalanche have played, in my opinion.
Easily.
They were not like the looks, and it was good on both sides. The looks that the Avalanche were giving the Wild were not easy looks. The Wild had to fight for everything. The Avalanche had to fight for everything too. But I think the Avs played a very good defensive game. What's some of our stats here? Even though the Wild, yes, I say that knowing full well the Wild had 40 shots on goal, but the Avalanche had 38, and the same went for them. Minnesota does a good job of getting in the shooting lanes. So 0 for 2 for the Wild on the power play. That's good for the Avalanche because clearly, penalty killing has been an Achilles heel for them. 1 for 4, which is skewed a little bit because their second goal came maybe 2 seconds after the penalty was over. So that player hadn't even come back into the play yet. And then that was a beautiful pass from Sam Girard to Alex Newhook. But the first one was from the 5-on-3, and you had about 1 minute and 40 seconds or a little bit more than that on a 5-on-3. And you're like, you have to get that. You have to. And they got one pretty relatively quickly. I mean, it was within the time, so you still had another power play to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like about a couple seconds after. So it is 1 for 4 / 2 for 4 because it was still that guy, like I said, had not entered the play yet. So, and even on most of the power plays, it looked a lot better. Some good looks on the power play, I thought.
And for Mikko to take that shot, like right outside Ovechkin's office, right before that line at the goal crease, it's a hard place to take that shot. And for him to nail it, that was a great shot. And the power play is starting to look a lot better. The penalty kill, you contribute it to that defense and how it looked all night. Like there were some really solid things on the penalty kills. So things to take forward for sure.
It did look better. And I think we talked yesterday that Minnesota is not the best not penalty killer, power play unit.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to take advantage of that. So I did. I think it looked okay. I don't know. I'm still really leery of their penalty kill going forward. Like it's not just something that all of a sudden is just going to snap into place and they're just going to start ascending up the ranks of their penalty kill. I think it's a problem. And I think it's something that they're just going to have to deal with for the rest of the year. You're going to have stretches where, you kill 10 in a row or 10 out of 11 or something. You're going to have those stretches. But overall, this is a problem that is going to be around for the duration of the season, and you just have to deal with it from an Avs standpoint.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were talking about Arizona having the worst penalty kill, and we went 0 for on the power play in that series. So
exactly. Yeah.
Things to work on.
Yeah. Nathan MacKinnon, 600 career points. What else can you say about him? Not much that's already been said, but he gets his 600th career point, obviously all with the Avalanche. And he's a beat. He's starting, like we said the other day, he's starting to just amp it up and really put this team on his shoulders. So watch out because points are coming fast and furious for Nathan MacKinnon.
Yeah, I think he might earn himself a 2-way contract, and I think he might be okay. I haven't looked at his elite prospects rankings, but I think he might be all right.
You think so? All right. Rest of the stat. What else we got here? MacKinnon had the 1-1. Newhook with the goal. Landeskog with an assist. Burakovsky with an assist. Rantanen with 1-1. And Makar and Girard with assists. There was a point in time, and I don't know if he just got it wrong or didn't see him, but Mosier said there was a point where he didn't see Landeskog on the bench. And then he did come back. He kind of said like, I see him now, but he never talked about it later on. And nobody else really has said anything like if he was hurt. And it was at the start of the third period, I want to say. So maybe just something held him back to come out to start the period. Or if Mosier just had completely missed him on the bench. I don't know. And it was a little concerning that they never went back to it. Yeah. And Mosier would just correct him and say like, no, he was there all along. I just didn't see him. Or if we hear anything like he had tweaked a little bit of something, just needed a little bit more time in the locker room. And then he can't, something to just keep an eye on, folks. So yeah.
Let's keep an eye on Twitter today and see what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. And then, you got to give it up to Francouz for coming in. That's never an easy thing to do. When I know you're always supposed to be prepared to play, but because injuries can happen like that, and that's exactly what happened. So sometimes that's the best play you'll get from a goalie is when they're not expecting to, and because they're not in their head, they're not thinking about it all day. They just get thrown in, and all right, here we go. And you said it multiple times when he was coming back from injury. What are we going to get out of Pavel Francouz? I think we're all very happy with what we have for him right now, because obviously he's going to be a big part for the rest of the season and into the playoffs.
I mean, he proved it against Toronto and came in relief of Darcy when we yanked him early. And another situation kind of similar. So to see Pavel come in cold-ish and steal a game, we'll see what we can get out of Pavel Francouz deeper into this run.
Yeah, it'd be good. So, all right, that'll wrap it up for today. Avs, they're winning in all different fashions, which is what you want. Maybe these ones aren't appealing to you because it's not a blowout win and it's not in the bag. But these are character builders. So Avs get the win and then remain in first place. So that will wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be talking about anything that's going on with the Avs during the day and previewing that. Where they got Anaheim next, right?
Anaheim and then LA.
All right. We'll be previewing that game. But for now, that'll be it for us. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Go check out Locked On NHL. Make that your second listen of the day. Get caught up on everything going on around the league, including Jonas Donskoy getting a shootout goal. All right, Jonas. It's not an actual goal, but it's a goal. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Go watch that Moon Knight trailer. It's awesome. All right. He is Shaggy Von Du, Mr. Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.